Tokyo Ghoul begins with our main character named Kaneki, a normal high school student. He's out drinking coffee with his best friend named Hideyoshi. Suddenly, a beautiful girl appears and smiles at him, catching the young man's attention because he finds out that she loves reading books just like him. Both of them quickly became close to each other. One day, due to his naivety, Kaneki brought her home, thinking it might be his lucky day, but unexpectedly she bites into his shoulder. It's only then that Kaneki realizes that Rise is actually a ghoul. While she's enjoying herself about to feast on her prey, she toys with Kaneki repeatedly. Fortunately, some iron bars accidentally fall and save Kaneki. When he wakes up, he notices how tasteless the hospital food is. The surgeon tells him he's okay, so he was discharged from the hospital. At this moment, Kaneki coincidentally learns from the TV that ghouls can't eat human food, which terrifies him. He immediately tries to eat a hamburger, but to his surprise, he immediately vomited. No matter how many times he tries, the taste still tastes like shit. At this moment, Kaneki became aware of his transformation. When he went outside, he began to hungry, desiring to eat those around him. In response, Kaneki restrained himself and hurried back home. However, he soon discovered that his left eye had undergone a transformation. It was then that he recalled, it turned out that the doctor himself had transplanted Rise's organs into him, causing him to transform into a ghoul. When Kaneki played foolishly and attempted to stab himself with a knife, unexpectedly, even the knife broke, leaving him in despair. At this point, Kaneki was gradually losing control, chasing the scent of flesh in an alley. He spotted another ghoul, feasting on a human here. Suddenly, a young man appeared, putting an end to his role, and that person immediately seized him. "This is my territory." While planning to kill Kaneki, suddenly a girl appeared immediately rushing to attack him, which made the guy terrified and run away because he saw Kaneki looking very hungry. Yet he tried to restrain himself. "I want to be human," making the girl uncomfortable. Shoving a piece of meat into his mouth, having fed him, she still struck him. Suddenly, a kind man appeared guiding Kaneki to his coffee. Upon realizing he could drink coffee, Kaneki became very happy. So he gave food to Kaneki and said to come here if he needed help. After Kaneki left, then he informed Tuka about it in a previous accident involving Kaneki because Rise was died, so the doctor transplanted her organs into Kaneki, unintentionally turning him into a ghoul, causing her to be surprised. When returning home, Kaneki was tormented by his own hunger, had Rise appear in his mind telling him to eat flesh when hungry. But he remained determined, resisting his intense cravings the next morning. Hideyoshi just saw Kaneki going back to school, which made him very happy, while leading Kaneki to meet a new acquaintance. Both of them soon discovered that this guy was the ghoul from last night. However, both of them tried to act normal at this point as Hideyoshi needed to go home for documents. Worried that his close friend might be eaten by him, Kaneki insisted on accompanying him. When they reached an alley, he immediately attacked them both. This revealed his true nature as a flesh-eating ghoul, seeing him continuously beating Hideyoshi. It infuriated Kaneki, but he was still too weak. Seeing him about to kill his friend, Kaneki became enraged. His tails immediately sprouted, continuously striking him, inflicting immense pain on him. He thought everything was okay. Unexpectedly, Rise appeared, mesmerizing Kaneki into eating Hideyoshi as he was about to lose control. Tuka appeared again, and she knocked Kaneki unconscious. When he woke up, he realized he is in the cafe. Seeing that Hideyoshi was safe, Kaneki finally felt relieved. Recognizing that hunger was controlling him, Kaneki asked the man for help. So he advised Kaneki to work at this Anteiku cafe to learn the ways to live of ghouls. While teaching Kaneki how to brew coffee, he informed him that this was where ghouls from the 20 ward often gathered to learn how to coexist with humans. Hideyoshi also came to visit Kaneki. As soon as he left, two mother and child appeared. They came to find the manager. At this point, Tuka warned him to be cautious of those carrying suitcases, making Kaneki very curious. By evening, he was assigned a task to go gather food with this guy. His name was Yomo. Kaneki thought he would have to hunt humans. He only knows when he gets here that they were only collecting corpses of those who had committed suicide. On the other side, there were two investigators tasked with hunting down Goal S-class individuals in Area 20. The next morning, the manager asked Tuka to take Kaneki to get a mask made, making her quite uncomfortable, but she agreed nonetheless. So both of them went to meet this eccentric guy. Suddenly he asked him, "What do you think about Tuka? She's a fierce girl." But he said Tuka was a very kind and diligent girl. So when they left, Kaneki was still puzzled, wondering what the mask was for, so Tuka explained to him that the mask was to evade the investigators, not letting them see his face, upon returning to the cafe. When Kaneki was about to try talking to this girl, he immediately felt extremely fear as he saw her eating. But he quickly regained his composure and engaged in conversation with Hinami. Knowing that the girl also liked to read, Kaneki taught her how to read and write, which made Hinami very happy. The next morning, they became even closer, and suddenly, a young man dressed in flamboyant attire appeared. His name was Tsukiyama. When the young man approached Kaneki, it immediately made him feel uncomfortable. So he got chased away by Tuka, and he started the desire to eat Kaneki at this point. He sought ways to approach him. Kaneki also realized that he was nicknamed the Gourmet, a notorious or eccentric figure. But upon learning that he shared a love for books, Kaneki began to dismantle his defensive barriers and agreed to attend one of his parties by evening. Yomo had trained Kaneki to defend himself and even took him out to have fun with this girl, causing the girl to be very surprised upon realizing he was a one-eyed ghoul, and they told him that humans and ghouls could love each other. But if they had a child, it would die. Only a few could survive, so selling a one-eyed ghoul would be much stronger than a purebred ghoul, and they informed him that Rise's death that day was not an accident. This made Kaneki start to contemplate. The next morning when he was asking Tsukiyama about Rise's affairs, he lost control, causing Kaneki's hand to accidentally bleed. When he sneakily obtained a blood-stained handkerchief from Kaneki, this perverted youth right away smelled that handkerchief. By evening, as he prepared to attend the party, Kaneki felt something was off. Suddenly, he was brought onto a stage. It was then that Kaneki realized he had been deceived into this gourmet feast, and they were eager to devour him, as he was a one-eyed ghoul. Suddenly, a chubby guy appeared and attacked him, realizing he would die if he continued like this. Kaneki began to fight back, dodging his attacks as he was slow, but he eventually fell and was caught by him. The ghouls present were excited, thought Kaneki would be squeezed to death by him, but unexpectedly, he underwent a transformation, defeating the chubby guy, surprising everyone present, as Kaneki was a one-eyed ghoul. Suddenly, Tsukiyama changed again and killed the chubby guy. He then apologized to Kaneki, saying it was all just a joke. The next day, upon hearing that Tuka was ill because she had eaten improperly with his close friend the day before, he went to visit her. Suddenly, Tuka's close friend also arrived. Seeing Kaneki, she was surprised, thinking her friend had finally found a lover, so she handed over some food and left, seeing Tuka trying to eat the food her friend had cooked. Kaneki realized that they were very close. When leaving, he happened to see Nishio being attacked, so Kaneki stepped in to stop them, giving those guys a hard punches. Thus, Kaneki took Nishio back home. Only then did he find out that Nishio lived with his girlfriend. But unexpectedly, his girlfriend turned out to be a human. At this point, Kimi asked Kaneki helped her control Nishio's craving, seeing how much she loved him, so he agreed. When leaving, suddenly Kimi was kidnapped. Kaneki and Nishio received a letter from the pervert. Both immediately went to find him. Seeing Kaneki made him happy, so he rushed towards him and knocked Nishio away. Then he also struck Kaneki. Unexpectedly, Tuka appeared. She kicked him in the eyes, but he quickly recovered, so Tuka and Kaneki together fought him. Unexpectedly, both of them were beaten badly, and then he attacked Kaneki as he tasted a bit of Kaneki's blood. Tsukiyama felt extremely pleasure. Despite Tuka's efforts, she wasn't a match for him, so this lunatic came up with an idea to devour Kaneki while he was eating Kimi. Meanwhile, Nishio is recalling his past. When he was young, he lived with his sister, but his sister was killed by her human boyfriend after avenging his sister. So he encountered Kimi, always viewing her as an arc of food source. But when he was injured by Kaneki, he began to lose control. At this moment, Kimi realized that he was a ghoul, thinking she would be betrayed like her sister. But unexpectedly, Kimi allowed Nishio to bite her. This made Nishio realize that Kimi truly loved him. Now Nishio, driven to madness, attacked him, but he was too strong and continuously used his kagyun to torture him, seeing Nishio trying to save Kimi. So Kaneki decided to let Tuka eat him, because that would make her stronger. Seeing his prey being consumed by someone else infuriated, he attacked Tuka. But unexpectedly, at this moment, Tuka underwent a transformation. She released her kagyun and counterattacked. Now he was no longer a match for Tuka when he intended to devour Kimi to increase his strength. So he was immediately stopped by Nishio, and he was defeated by Tuka. Suddenly, Tuka wanted to eliminate Kimi as well because she knew their identities. But when Kimi said she was beautiful, she just left. Since then, Nishio started working at Cafe Anteiku, surprising Hideyoshi. As for Tuka, she is still contemplating because she suddenly received compliments for being beautiful at this moment. Hinami was arguing with her mother. It turns out she always wants to be by her father's side, but currently, Hinami's father got involved with a very dangerous individual. His name is Jason, a dangerous S-class ghoul, and these two investigators are hunting him because Amon is still a rookie, so he lacks experience. Only this crazy ghoul investigator can match him in a fight. When he leaves, they switch to targeting Hinami's father. At this point, Hinami's mother promised to take her to meet her father, made her very happy. As soon as she caught a whiff of her father's scent, Hinami immediately ran towards it. But unexpectedly, she encountered investigators Amon and Mado, sensing danger. So Hinami's mother told her, immediately go back to Anteiku. Although reluctant, she had to run away to find someone to help her mother. Unfortunately, she ran into Kaneki at this point. Investigator Mado took out his weapon, causing Hinami's mother to cry because that was her husband's Kagyun. But when Kaneki arrived, he could only blindfold Hinami as there was nothing they could do. Upon learning that Hinami's mother had died, Tuka became furious and wanted to seek revenge immediately. But she was stopped by the manager because that would attract a lot of investigators to their location. Meanwhile, Kaneki was blaming himself because he was too weak on Tuka's side. She decided to act alone. She ambushed the two investigators. When she killed one of them, Amon promptly appeared, so they also got beat by Tuka. Suddenly, Mado attacked Tuka when he mentioned Hinami's mother. It made Tuka furious. She continued to attack him. But no matter how hard she fought, she couldn't land a hit on him. Realizing the situation wasn't good, Tuka managed to escape in time. At this moment, Kaneki discovered that Tuka was injured, which made him very worried, even though he cared about her. She chased him away, so Kaneki promised to help Tuka seek revenge, but he wouldn't kill anyone. Meanwhile, Amon was deeply saddened by the death of his teammate, so he also tried to train hard to avoid losing anyone else. Suddenly, Tuka discovered that Hinami had disappeared, so she and Kaneki went finding together, but when they heard Hinami scream, Tuka immediately ran off. Amon also appeared, chasing after Tuka, but Kaneki intervened. At this point, Tuka found Hinami. Seeing her in pain clutching her valley, Tuka discovered Hinami cradling her mother's arm, but Mado also showed up, injuring Tuka. Mado immediately drew his quink, attacking Tuka, but due to the terrain advantage, Tuka gained the upper hand and fought back against him on Kaneki's side. He was trying to hold back Amon. Then Amon drew his quink, knocking Kaneki away. At this point, he was very angry, asking why ghouls existed, continuously killing humans, stealing away his comrades. Meanwhile, Tuka was questioning Mado about why he killed Hinami's mother, what mistake she made. But suddenly, he retaliated against Tuka. Hinami immediately realized that he had taken her mother's Kagyun, turning it into a quink, which made Tuka furious. She attacked him repeatedly. Hinami was feeling very sad because both her father and mother were gone. At this moment, Kaneki realized that he was the only one standing between humans and ghouls, but currently he didn't have enough strength to stop Amon. So he decided he rushed forward to bite Amon's shoulder to increase his own strength. So his Kagyun emerged, and Kaneki destroyed Amon's weapon. But suddenly, Kaneki told Amon to run away because he was losing control on Toka's side at this moment. He had caught them both as he was about to finish off Hinami. Suddenly, his arm disappeared, and Hinami was able to activate her Kagyun. She continuously attacked him to protect Tuka. At this moment, Hinami had the strength to avenge her parents, but Hinami no longer wanted revenge, seeing that he still wants to kill Hinami. So Tuka sought revenge on him to help Hinami. On Amon's side, he couldn't understand why Kaneki let him go, but Kaneki was still out of control, and he rushed to attack someone nearby who was observing. But unexpectedly, it was none other than Yomo. This helped Kaneki regain his composure. So the two of them found Tuka and Hinami, and the whole group safely returned. As for Amon at this time, seeing Mado's corpse, it made him very sad, because he had lost his mentor. At this moment, Amon remembered. When he had just become an investigator, he immediately became Mado's subordinate. He is famous for being quite crazy. Even Amon had doubts about his abilities, because Mado relied solely on his instincts, trying to deduce that this old lady was a ghoul. But when approaching her, he sees that this old lady is too weak, so how could she be a ghoul? But unexpectedly, she was indeed a ghoul. She immediately attacked, intending to feast on this young man. Luckily, Mato arrived in time and rescued Amon. Since then, he regarded him as his mentor. Meanwhile, on Kaneki's side, he was relieved because Hanami had returned happily, while Tuka and Nishio constantly argue with each other, rendering the bartender helpless as well. When evening came and they headed home, Kaneki encountered another crazy guy, resulting in him losing his wallet. The next morning, he still seemed normal because who gets upset over an empty wallet? But he gets startled by Hideyoshi because Kaneki thought he already knew he was a ghoul. It turns out he was reading a detective novel on the investigator's side. At that time, they had reinforced their forces in Area 11 because ghouls in this area were collaborating with each other to hunt down the investigators. Meanwhile, Tuka knew that Mato also had a family, so she told Kaneki about her own family. It turns out that when she was young, Tuka also had a father and a younger brother named Ayato. Both were taught to protect each other on the 11 ward side. At that time, Ayato had already taken down many investigators and he intended to move to Ward 20, where Kaneki's group was residing in order to capture Rise. At this moment, the manager was in Ward 11, aware of an organization called Aujiri, which had wiped out the investigators in this ward, sensing that something was amiss. He immediately returned. The next morning, a young man appeared, named Banju from Ward 11, arriving to find Rise, and he realized that there was the scent of Rise on Kaneki. This infuriated him because he thought Kaneki had snatched his crush. He accidentally got knocked out by Kaneki's headbutt. Fearing they would be shocked, upon learning Rise had died, Kaneki simply said she had left. That's when Banju informed him about the emergence of an organization called Aujiri. They attacked Ward 11, taking control of all the ghoul gangs in this area, their goal being to hunt down Rise. Suddenly, Ayato appeared, Banju's group sent flying. Tuka then confronted her younger brother. When they were about to fight, another unwelcome guy showed up, as he had been tracking Banju to find Rise. Suddenly, Jason also caught the scent of Rise on Kaneki's body, so he immediately knocked Tuka away and captured Kaneki. Realizing that he was a one-eyed ghoul, it excited him. When Tuka rushed in, she was immediately stopped by her younger brother, and was subdued by Ayato. As for Jason, he was very intrigued by Kaneki, so he continuously banged Kaneki's head, making everyone uncomfortable, but they couldn't do anything to stop him, so they took Kaneki away. When the manager returned, and seeing that his coffee shop is in a mess, when he learned that Kaneki had been captured, he immediately ordered everyone to gather. As for the CCG at this time, they were planning, alongside special investigators, to counter the Aujiri organization at this point. Everyone in the cafe was worried about Kaneki, although aware of the danger because they would not only confront Aujiri, but also the special investigators. However, everyone decided they would save him. So the manager began to plan together with another person. He is Tsukiyama, which surprised everyone. As for Kaneki at this time, he was continuously being tortured by Jason, causing him immense pain on the CCG side. They attacked the Aujiri organization while both sides fought fiercely. This guy immediately took the brand new motorcycle of his commander out to play. Although he easily defeated all the enemies, but he also tossed his brand new motorcycle into the trash. Damn you, I just bought that motorcycle at this point. Tuka's group had also infiltrated the organization. Both sides fought fiercely. The leaders of Aujiri also appeared, continuously eliminating the investigators. Meanwhile, Tuka this time, she encountered Amon as he wanted revenge for Mato. So he continuously attacked Tuka, but luckily she has been helped by two S-ranked ghouls to help escape. So they continuously attacked Amon. Realizing they were very strong, he activated the quink that Mato left for him, and Amon defeated them. While searching for Kaneki, then Tuka was attacked by Ayato. On the side of the special investigators and Amon at this time, they encountered an extremely dangerous SSS-ranked ghoul on Kaneki's side. Banju asked his two friends to find a way to save him. At this moment, Jason appeared again. Kaneki seemed almost insane. Rise appeared again inside his mind. He continuously cuts off Kaneki's toes, then lets them grow back and makes him do math, counting backward from 1000 to 7. At this moment, Rise showed Kaneki a glimpse of his mother. Since he was little, he was taught that to become a good person, so Kaneki didn't want to harm anyone. But sometime later, Kaneki's mother passed away due to overwork, leaving him all alone, but luckily he met Hideyoshi. Meanwhile, Jason was taken by surprise due to Kaneki's regenerative ability, so he took out a centipede and inserted it into his ear, seeing Kaneki's pain, which greatly amused him. So he captured these two, because he knew they were a pair, and he forced Kaneki to choose to kill one of them, causing a lot of pain to Kaneki, because in doing so, he'd be the one killing them. Seeing that Kaneki still couldn't choose, so he chose the girl, causing this guy to signal continuously to Kaneki, "Choose me," while Kaneki was hesitating. So he killed the girl, even going as far as to kill the guy. At this moment, Rise reappeared. While Kaneki was feeling guilty, Rise said, "You're too weak, you can't save anyone, and you'll end up killing everyone." This made Kaneki feel his own helplessness, and he began to change his thinking, accepting Rise. Accepting himself as a ghoul. At this point, Kaneki's hair turned white. When Jason was excited, wanting to eat Kaneki, he managed to break free from the chains. Surprising Jason at this point, he no longer felt pain. So Jason transformed, continuously attacking Kaneki. But Kaneki remained completely unharmed and used his Kagyun, continuously attacking him until he fell. "This time it's my turn. What is 1000 to 7? Speak up. It's time for me to devour you." Meanwhile, Tuka is facing her younger brother. Even Ayato is devouring his sister's Kagyun. When Tuka is in a dangerous situation, Kaneki appeared in time that surprised Tuka and Nishio. So Kaneki immediately rushed in, engaging in a fist fight with his brother-in-law, thinking he had defeated him. But unexpectedly, Kaneki had become much stronger and easily overpowering Ayato. But at this moment, Kaneki realized Ayato's purpose for joining Audrey was to protect his sister. Suddenly, another ghoul appeared, immediately captured Ayato on Amon's side. He is with the special investigators, fighting against an extremely dangerous ghoul, and they call him Owl, but he was too strong, easily knocked them all. So the two special investigators activated their armor to attack him, but in return, they will be corroded by the armor. Suddenly, the building began to collapse, resulting in many investigators being in jeopardy. Just when these two investigators were in danger, unexpectedly, that duel saved them. On Kaneki's side, the whole group is now safe, while the two leaders of Audrey are still observing from a distance. Hideyoshi is also very worried about Kaneki, because he has known for a long time that Kaneki is a ghoul. On the side of the overall investigators, they are very angry because they realize this is a trap set by the Audrey organization. At this moment, Tuka has calmed down, and Kaneki has stated that he will join Audrey, surprising Tuka, and she can't stop him. So Kaneki has become a high-ranking commander of Audrey on the side of the overall investigators. The special investigators have united to locate the ghoul known as Owl, because 10 years ago, they failed to eliminate him. At this time, Hideyoshi is working as an inter-investigator to investigate information about Kaneki. When Emon visits Mado's grave, he coincidentally encounters Akira, Mado's daughter. The next day, Special Investigator Shinohara gathers his subordinates, and Akira will become Amon's partner. There's also a new investigator named Seto, often teased by Akira, alongside a quirky youth named Juzo. But when he comes into contact with her, he discovers that she's too aggressive. As for the Anteiku Cafe at this time, people have returned to normal life, but they still remember Kaneki. Tuka is about to graduate, and she has chosen to go to university. Kaneki once studied at a university for exceptionally bright individuals, but Tuka is very bad at studying, surprising everyone. On Kaneki's side, he is on a mission with Ayato to attack a police vehicle and rescue a crucial member of Audrey. Suddenly, two other ghouls appear, attacking Kaneki. It turns out they are also one-eyed ghouls, taking Kaneki by surprise, but they quickly vanish. They have succeeded in rescuing the crazy youth at the cafe. Knowing that Tuka still remembers Kaneki, so Irimi and Koma console her. Suddenly, Nishio appears, teasing Tuka. Though they often argue, he led Tuka to visit Kaneki's school because he knew she wanted to study there. When she saw the missing person notice for Kaneki, she coincidentally ran into Hideyoshi. So they confided in each other. Tuka asked Hideyoshi what kind of person Kaneki is. He's a bona fide bookworm. Hearing Hideyoshi talk about Kaneki made Tuka very interested. Meanwhile, Hinami is standing in line to get an autograph from a famous author named Takatsuki, and Kaneki is also a fan of her. When she learned that Hinami asked for this autograph for Kaneki, Takatsuki is surprised because Takatsuki is actually Ito, the one-eyed king and leader of Audrey. Meanwhile, investigator Shinohara takes Juzo to get a new quink, making him very excited, so he eagerly destroyed the base. As for the young man who was just rescued, he hears the news that his big brother Jason has died, causing him to go mad again. But after Kaneki helps him write his big brother's name, he believes that Kaneki is a good person, unaware that Kaneki is the one who ate his big brother at this point. Audrey has planned to rescue an extremely dangerous sulfur monosulfide-rated ghoul. Eamon is also investigating his foster father, a dangerous ghoul. When he at the church was a Vicor, he ate the children he adopted at this moment. Audrey Corp attacks the prison, eliminating all the guards and taking control. On Kaneki and Ayato's side, they infiltrate inside and find their rescue target, Shachi. Unexpectedly, Shachi attacks Kaneki. Because he smells rise on Kaneki, who is Shachi's daughter, despite continuous attacks. He proves to be very strong. Shachi injures Kaneki, using his martial arts skills to repeatedly pummel him, sending him flying. Ito intervenes to stop him. Meanwhile, Kaneki is undergoing a transformation in a nearby room. Shinohara is in a battle with Ayato. Realizing Ayato is very strong, he activates his armor. Ayato immediately discovered that this armor was made from his father's Kagyun. Ayato goes berserk and runs to him, continuously attacking him, but he still wasn't a match for Shinohara. Suddenly, Kaneki appears to save Ayato. This moment Shinohara realizes Kaneki has evolved into a Kakuja, a mutated ghoul form, and he completely overwhelms Shinohara. But he lost his sanity, Amon and Akira at this moment. They're facing Naki and his subordinates, thinking victory would be easy. But Akira is in for a surprise. He's a lunatic, unfazed by pain. So she got bitten on the leg by him. Amon rushes in to protect Akira, and they both make their escape. On Juzo's side this time, he encounters Kurona and Ashiro. They are each other's old friend. It turns out the two sisters came here to find Kaneki, their brother, as they were also experiments of the doctor. Juzo doesn't understand why they turned into ghouls. Even though they attack together, they are not a match for Juzo. He continuously uses his knives to attack Kurona, giving Nashiro a fatal blow. Kurona takes Nashiro and runs, but unexpectedly they run into Amon, surprising him, as both were his former students. However, they quickly flee. Amon, still puzzled about why they became ghouls, witnesses Kaneki eating Shinohara, making him angry. He said, "I'd always thought you were different from other ghouls." Surprisingly, Dujima's swords had an impact on Kaneki, helping him regain consciousness. Suddenly, the One-Eyed King appeared, capture Ayato and Kaneki and leave. Unexpectedly, the next day, Shinohara was still alive, and they realized Kaneki only ate his armor, and he's a dangerous Kakuja. After Amon left, he inadvertently encountered Hideyoshi. He immediately seized this opportunity. Hideyoshi continued to search for information about Kaneki. As for Juzo at this time, he was reminiscing about his past. It turns out that in the past he was raised by a ghoul, he called her Mama, who constantly tortured him and forced him to fight to amuse the ghouls, until he was rescued by Shinohara and taken to the Academy for Investigators at the Anteiku Cafe right now. Nishio is cursing Roma. She is the new employee at the cafe because she always makes the shop buy a new cup and is also very interested in Kaneki's affairs. Meanwhile, Iman is with Sato, dragging Akira to eat. When Sato and Akira are drunk and arguing, he receives a phone call, and he curses whoever disturbed him, only to turn pale realizing it's his boss. "I am about to end it." This time Akira been drunk, so she tells Iman about her father. It turns out his goal is to seek revenge on the owl, who killed his wife. Iman blamed himself and said, "He died because I was too weak, so I want to protect you." This surprises Akira, and she too is drunk, so Amon takes Akira home, seeing her sleeping on the bed, causing the young man to swallow nervously. He immediately tried to control his emotions by doing the push-up in the morning. When Akira wakes up, she saw the guy do 7,890 push-ups, so he immediately got teased by Akira, calling him a pervert addicted to muscular. As for Kaneki at this moment, he's trying to control his insanity, as he is gradually being controlled by his ghoul side. Kaneki begins to question whether this is the best way to protect everyone. Meanwhile, Hinami, seeking love advice from Nishio. Tsukiyama appears, still flamboyant as usual. He comes to find the manager Yoshimura, to inform him that Kaneki is eating ghouls to become stronger. When Tsukiyama leaves, Hinami follows to inquire about Kaneki. He always brings up the topic of love, making the shy girl blush because he keeps mentioning Kaneki. So Tsukiyama went into the restroom to take Kaneki's towel and smell it, made the guy very excited. Suddenly, Takatsuki also arrives, and she realizes that Hanami is in love with Kaneki. So she promises to be a love advisor for the younger girl. Takatsuki goes to the CCG headquarters, posing as a novelist, interviewing Shinohara and Juzo, but her real purpose is to reveal to them that Anteiku Cafe is inhabited by ghouls. At the cafe, Kaneki returns to Anteiku to talk to manager Yoshimura about Owl. Yoshimura then tells Kaneki his past. He used to be a ruthless ghoul, only interested in killing, until he visited a cafe and got hooked on a human girl. It was the most beautiful time for Yoshimura. Even though she found out he was a ghoul, the girl still stayed by his side, and they had a child together, half human, half ghoul. Suddenly, they were pursued by a mysterious organization that killed his wife, so he entrusted his child to a friend for foster care, and Yoshimura killed the entire organization. But since then, he no longer encountered his child. Upon hearing that Kaneki had returned, Hanami immediately ran to inform Tuka. Upon receiving the news, Tuka rushed back, but upon arrival, Kaneki had already left, so Tuka immediately chased after him. Finally, they encountered each other. Kaneki said he wants to protect everyone, so he had to become stronger. Suddenly, Tuka got angry, punching Kaneki in the face, and then she left, still feeling regretful for punching him. Suddenly, investigators arrived at the cafe to investigate Kaneki. However, Shinohara also began to suspect the manager. So all the employees in the cafe started being monitored. At this time, everyone was still cheerful, carrying out their daily tasks in the evening as everyone was cleaning up. Then Yomo arrived prepared to take Tuka and Hanami away, because Tuka was about to take the university entrance exam. In reality, the manager sensed that something was amiss, so he asked Yomo to take care of them. After they left, Shinohara suddenly appeared to enjoy Yoshimura's coffee. He showed the investigator how to make his coffee. After Shinohara left in the cafe at this time, only Aruni and Koma remained with the manager. They also enjoyed the coffee he brewed, because they knew this was the last time they could drink it at CCG this moment. Every time there was a major campaign, all of the investigators, they all had their wills written, because they could sacrifice themselves at any time. However, there was a special investigator named Arima who always left his will blank. Meanwhile, Akira confessed her feelings to Amon by giving him a kiss, but he immediately covered her mouth on the side of Kaneki and Tuka. They were shocked when they learned that the CCG was preparing to attack Anteiku. Finally, the operation began, under the command of Director Washu. While raiding the coffee, suddenly, Koma and Arini appeared. Along with their subordinates, swiftly, they eliminated the vanguard team of the CCG. At this moment, the investigators realized that Koma was the leader of the apes, and Narimi was the leader of the Black Dobers on the side of the manager. He decided to attack the enemy's headquarters, so he immediately launched an attack on them, terrifying the investigators, and realizing this is the power of Great SS Ghoul on Kaneki's side. He has also arrived and met Nishio. At this moment, he becomes aware the manager, Koma, and Arimi are in battle to protect them. So he decides not to engage in combat because he doesn't want their sacrifices to be in vain. Suddenly, Tsukiyama also appears. When he learns that Kaneki will join the fight, he immediately attacks him because Tsukiyama always wants to eat Kaneki and doesn't want him to face danger. But he is also powerless to prevent him on Koma's side. There has been carnage, eliminating many investigators. Suddenly, Koma is under attack by a high-ranking investigator. He continuously uses his firearm, shooting at Koma, but he manages to dodge every shot and counterattack against him, so he immediately engages in a brutal confrontation with Koma, shooting through his body when he was facing danger. Then Kaneki rushes to save him away on Irumi's side at this moment in a battle with a glasses-wearing guy. He relentlessly attacks her, but with her agility, Irumi easily dodges and bites back at the investigators. Suddenly, an old woman appears, but he continues to attack her to protect the old woman. Irumi gets shot, so she activates her Kegyun and Berserk, annihilating them. But because there are too many of them, Irumi quickly collapses. The glasses-wearing investigator harbors a deep hatred for Irumi and has injured him when he is about to finish her off. Then Kaneki appears to prevent them. At this point, he has become very powerful, easily dealing with the investigators, so both of them are now safe. So he immediately runs to the manager's location on the manager's side at this moment. While attacking the investigators, suddenly, Shinohara and Kurowa launch an attack against him. Despite the assault on Yoshimura, he can still regenerate. but they continue to relentlessly attack him, and Juzo also rushes in to support them, wildly attack him, but they were all knocked away by him, so they continued to surround Yoshimura and continuously inflict injuries upon him. Even though he has a high regenerative capability, but he is also exhausted, realizing that death is approaching him. So Yoshimura reminisces about the members of Anteiku, whom he considered as his own children, along with his wife and daughter. At this point, Yoshimura has no strength left to resist, and he can now reunite with his wife, while the investigators are elated as they have successfully defeated their target. But Kaneki is in despair as he didn't arrive in time. Suddenly, Amon appears to encircle and capture Kaneki. Suddenly at this moment, another Joel emerges. They realize he is the One-Eyed King, the leader of Aogiri. He proceeds to defeat all the investigators here. When he attacks Juzo, Shinohara steps in to defend him, seeing him being defeated by the One-Eyed King. Makes Juzo furious. He charges at the One-Eyed King, but he is too weak, unable to do anything against him. Now it's Aogiri's turn to enter the battle, continuously slaughtering the investigators. On Kaneki's side, he is continuously attacked by Amon, but he can't do anything against him. When he saw Kaneki sating his teammate, Amon realizes he hasn't changed, in contrast to other ghouls, but he no longer has time, so he kicks off Amon. Then he activates his own weapon and continuously attacks Kaneki. Kaneki has always restrained his transformations, so both of them began to fight evenly. At this point he asked for Amon's name. If they had met under different circumstances, they might have been friends, so both of them ended up collapsing on the side of the CCG. There were many casualties. Sato was also killed and Hideyoshi is here as well. But Juzo was rescued by a special investigator. He is Arima. The investigator was considered the strongest in the CCG, so both of them started to battle. Even though he was being beat by him, the One-Eyed King was very excited. At this moment, upon hearing that Arima had arrived, it boosted the fighting spirit of the CCG significantly, making the ghouls feel fearful. Arima fought with a cold expression. The One-Eyed King couldn't do much against him. Realizing that the situation was unfavorable, he decided to devour Yoshimura and immediately departed, even though Arima pursued, but still couldn't catch up to him. So the entire Aogiri organization withdrew, while on the CCG side, there were severe casualties. At this point, Ito vomited out Yoshimura, and Ito is Yoshimura's daughter. Kaneki emerged victorious and continued trying to reach the cafe, but he collapsed at this moment. Kaneki felt like he was back in the old day, seeing everyone happily inside the cafe. When he regained consciousness, he realized he was here, and Kaneki reunited with Hideyoshi, surprising him. So Kaneki quickly covered his eye. But Hideyoshi said, "I already knew. I've known for a long time, since the time Nishio attacked me. Hey Kaneki, don't try to endure it all by yourself anymore." At this point, Hideyoshi did everything to cheer up Kaneki. But unexpectedly, he was severely injured, causing Kaneki to worry. But he said, "Come back, Kaneki." So he collapsed. Since the moment Kaneki left, Hyde has been constantly searching for him, hoping that one day he'll see Kaneki again, continuing to be happy with everyone here. Meanwhile, Tuka is still trying to return. But upon arrival, there was nothing left, only flames engulfing the place and her memories, along with everyone else's. Suddenly, Kaneki steps out, surprising Tuka, so she immediately follows him. Then she realizes he's heading towards the CCG. At this moment, Yomo arrives, stopping Tuka, because he promised the manager that he would protect Tuka, so she can only watch as Kaneki walks away. At this point, all the investigators are very surprised as they see a ghoul carrying an investigator towards them, seeing this moment. So Arima steps forward and engages in a battle with Kaneki. 2 years later, a special ghoul investigation squad was established, specialized in hunting down dangerous, bloodthirsty ghouls. After the battle with Arima, Kaneki lost all his memories. He changed his name to Sasaki, joined the CCG, and became a first-class investigator. At this time, Akarit is his supervisor. She consistently criticizes Sasaki for being too sympathetic towards ghouls. While Yuri and Shirazu are subordinates of Sasaki, they are investigating a dangerous ghoul named Torso. By the evening, when both return, they provide no information to Sasaki because they are envious of him being a first-class investigator. So he decides to investigate on his own with Matsuki. They locate Amon's foster father, a ghoul of SS rank. With his analysis, they discover that Torso is a taxi driver. The next morning, Matsuki quickly locates him, so he informs Yuri's team at this point. Torso starts targeting Matsuki. He realizes he is being pursued, so he quickly escapes. Unexpectedly, he gets surrounded, so he decided to fight them. Matsuki also wants to help everyone, but he can't summon his Kagyun. Suddenly, another S-class ghoul appears. He immediately attacks Yuri and Shirazu. Fortunately, Sasaki arrives in time to save them. He takes a hit and realizes that Guy is too strong. Suddenly, Kaneki appears in his mind. "You're still too weak, so accept me." But Sasaki tries to maintain his composure. He releases his Kagyun. Even so, he still gets attacked by the opponent. Kaneki takes control of his mind. The whole group realizes that Sasaki seems to have transformed into someone else. Sasaki attacks him with incredible speed, so that guy was defeated by him. Suddenly, he realizes that person is none other than Nishio. Many images begin to flash in his mind, causing Sasaki to lose control. So the investigators arrive and restrain him. As for Akira, she immediately made him faint. The next day, Akira informs Director Washu. The plan to capture the ghoul named Torso failed. Meanwhile, Sasaki has regained consciousness, and he blames Yuri for not following his orders. But Yuri retorts, "You're just a ghoul." This infuriates Shirazu. Because of Sasaki, they were able to return safely. It turns out Yuri is haunted by the death of his father, so he constantly strives to become a first-class investigator. Later, Sasaki goes to find his mentor, but he still can't defeat Arima. He says that even though he doesn't know what he was like in the past, but now he has a family. The next morning, Yuri visits the doctor to enhance his ghoul cells. This girl named Seiko is also a member of the group, but she has autism and refuses to carry out tasks while investigating. Suddenly, Sasaki catches the familiar scent of a coffee, so he enters the cafe and coincidentally encounters Tuka. Even though she looks familiar, but he doesn't recognize who she is. The next day, the whole group is trying to get Seiko to perform a mission, so she promises to gather with everyone tomorrow morning. The next morning, there is a meeting in progress. At this time, Juzo has become the special investigator's assistant. Unexpectedly, Seiko oversleeps, so Shirazu has to pick her up. Their mission is to infiltrate a ghoul auction, but first they have to approach Nutcracker. So that evening, they all disguise themselves as girls and enter a nightclub because they are so ugly that all the guys run away, while Sasaki still wants to know about his past. Fearing that when his memories return, he won't be Sasaki anymore. Suddenly, they spot Nutcracker, so Matsuki approaches her. Unexpectedly, they succeed in getting an invitation to the auction. On the other side, Ito assigns the task to Bayato to guard the auction. The next day, many ghouls have gathered, so the investigators also prepare for action. Nutcracker sends a car to pick up Matsuki and Juzo. When they get on the car, both of them get drugged. When they wake up, they realize they've been kidnapped. At this point, the auction has begun. They immediately bring Matsuki up first. When they find out that Matsuki is a half-ghoul, they immediately compete to buy him. The fat woman successfully purchases him for 200 million, making Nutcracker very happy to earn a large sum. Now it's Juzu's turn. He is not afraid at all, but instead takes out his knife and attacks them. The fat woman recognizes him as her former pet. Realizing that the auction is now surrounded, Ayato begins to take action as well. Sasaki's group also starts to rush in to rescue Matsuki outside. Naki and Misa are facing off against Akira. While Matsuki is captured by another person, suddenly, Torso appears and saves him. Because the last time he still hasn't eaten him, but this person stands up and defeats him, taking advantage of the opportunity. Matsuki escapes. It turns out he wants to capture Matsuki to give as a gift to Tsukiyama. Fortunately, Sasaki arrives in time and saves him, on the side of the other investigators at this time. They encounter Investigator Sato, but he has turned into a crazed ghoul. They recognize that he used to be an investigator. While Juzo is still in combat with Ayato, Sasaki's group is cooperating to defeat this ghoul. Suddenly, another person appears to rescue him and helps him escape. Meanwhile, Nutcracker has successively taken down the investigators. She not only defeated them, but also ate their flesh. The commander immediately orders Sasaki's group to eliminate her, so they quickly split into two teams. Yuri and Matsuki go to rescue those who have been captured. When they reach the basement, they encounter Juzo, so Juzo and Yuri immediately attack them. After upgrading his cells, Yuri realizes that he has become much stronger. Suddenly, he is ambushed and attacked by this fat woman. Meanwhile, when Sasaki comes out, he is immediately attacked by Sato. Noticing that he is very powerful, so he immediately orders the whole group to retreat. The commander mentions that he is sulfur monosulfide ranked, so he is forced to face him alone. They both engage in combat, but he is too powerful, and he swiftly overpowers Sasaki. On Yuri's side, he has been caught in the mouth of the fat woman. Even though Matsuko wants to help him, he is too weak. Suddenly, Yuri opened her mouth and kicked the fat lady. Matsuki notices that he is becoming more unhinged, seeing that he is delusional about his strength. So the fat one decides to put Yuri to sleep early, leading him to start feeling disappointed in himself. Unexpectedly, Matsuki awakens his Kagun. He immediately uses it to comfort Yuri. When the fat one is about to attack them, Juzu appears just in time, so they immediately pursue the fat woman. At this moment, Shirazu's group has located Nutcracker, but she was very quick, almost sterilized Shirazu. Thanks to him, they found the trap's location. Shirazu and Seiko collaborate to defeat her. It turns out that both Shirazu and Nutcracker are motivated by money. On Juzu's side, they have also dealt with the fat woman. Meanwhile, Sasaki is being beaten by Sato. He says, "You're too weak," so Sasaki is being tormented by him. Suddenly, someone arrives to rescue Sasaki. It turns out to be Hinami, so she immediately knocks him away. Sato also becomes more berserk. When Hinami is about to take Sasaki away, Sasaki suddenly says, "I'm not Kaneki for you anymore." Suddenly he speaks to Kaneki. "You're very strong, so I need your strength." Sasaki borrows Kaneki's strength and fights against him. In the end, both of them collapse. At this moment, Arima arrives intending to capture Hinami, so Sasaki steps forward to ask to keep her. Finally, the battle comes to an end. So the Audrey organization leaves one by one because they suffered heavy losses. The investigators have emerged victorious. So the next day, the entire group is promoted. Yuri, despite being promoted to rank 1, but he knows he needs to become stronger. Meanwhile, Sasaki is organizing a celebration feast for everyone. That evening, both Arima and Akira attend the party with them after a satisfying meal. Sasaki continues to give everyone a gift, making them very happy. At this moment, Sasaki gazes at a mask and a diary because someone has sent it to his, so he goes to Tuka's coffee to savor the familiar taste. The next morning, Yuri coincidentally sees Shirazu at the hospital. It turns out his sister was sick, so he wants to earn money for his sister's surgery. At this time, Kane, Tsukiyama's servant, wants to save his master. It turns out that Tsukiyama has gone out of mind since Kaneki left. He only calms down when using sedatives on the Audrey organization's side. Ayato is arguing with Tatara. Because Inami has been captured, it turns out that since Kaneki left, Ayato has been taking care of her. As for Sasaki, he is currently talking to Hinami. She says everyone is still waiting for him. "Sorry, I'm not Kaneki," so he leaves, but Sasaki doesn't understand why he wants to save her. Meanwhile, Kane has traced Kaneki's whereabouts on the CCG side. There is a meeting with high-ranking investigators. Suddenly, a girl comes to introduce herself to Sasaki's group, surprising everyone because she, at their age, is already an assistant to a special investigator. At this time, special investigators are on a mission, handling Tsukiyama's family members while Sasaki visits Yuta's mask shop to inquire about his mask, but he refused to admit that he made that mask. The next day, after Kane informed Tsukiyama that Sasaki is Kaneki, he immediately pursued Sasaki regardless. But unexpectedly, he tripped and fell, realizing it was not okay. So Kane promptly took him away, leaving him disappointed because Kaneki didn't recognize him on the father's side of Tsukiyama. The round-headed man sent a tape. He said he would quickly annihilate his own family. Meanwhile, Tsukiyama wants Kaneki to remember him, so he tries to approach Sasaki, discovering that his hobby is still reading books. He thought he had it good, but unexpectedly, Seiko thwarted his plan, so the whole group left. But Tsukiyama doesn't give up. He continues to pursue Sasaki. Realizing his master's intentions, Kane hires the Audrey organization for assistance. So that evening, they were attacked. Separating Sasaki and his group, Yuri and Matsuki are immediately attacked. Fortunately, they were finally able to chase them away. At this point, Sasaki is surrounded. When the group returns, they find that he has defeated all of them. Meanwhile, Seiko is being attacked by this clown. Luckily, a man kicked him away and saved her, and he turns out to be investigator Amon. In the end, the entire group is safe. At this point, Kanae is furious because the plan has failed. Suddenly, he encounters Ito and is captured by her. Ito says that no matter how hard he tries, his master will never love him, and the one he loves is Sasaki. So he is manipulated by Ito mentally. The next morning, Shirazu wants to kill more ghouls to earn money for his sister's surgery, so he decides to cut his hair. After that, they organize a meeting to plan an attack on the ghoul group. That night, Sasaki becomes curious about Kaneki. The next day, after meeting Tsukiyama, he immediately asks him if he knows anyone named Kaneki, although he doesn't want to let go of his current life, but he needs to know about Kaneki. Tsukiyama decides not to tell Sasaki anything, so Sasaki begins to investigate Amon, the investigator who was once Kaneki's opponent. But Akira doesn't want to say anything to him because she thinks he's dead. That night, Tsukiyama's father made him a cup of tea. Unexpectedly, after taking a sip, he immediately fainted because he realized that investigators were approaching when the special investigator Kori arrived. He said that the servants here are all humans, so please spare them. When Tsukiyama regained consciousness, he found himself far away. He realized that CCG wanted to wipe out the entire family, so he demanded to go back, but the maid said he must live. For those who sacrificed, this reminded him of what Kaneki had experienced at the cafe in Teiku. So he led them to another hideout on the side of the investigators. They are trying to chase and capture Tsukiyama, so the maid and the butler decide to step forward and stop them. It turns out that when he was young, Tsukiyama always treated his people very well. Both of them went down to face the investigators. Meanwhile, Tsukiyama went up to the rooftop. Unexpectedly, Sasaki was already waiting there at this point. Sasaki told him to surrender, but he immediately attacks Sasaki because Tsukiyama can't let his father and everyone sacrifice in vain below. The servant girl was still trying to stop the investigators, unexpectedly. The pink-haired girl is injured by a punch. This immediately infuriates her, and she releases her quink. Suddenly, the butler sacrifices himself to defeat the pink-haired girl. When the round-headed man was about to deal with them, unexpectedly, he was attacked by the butler. Seizing the opportunity, the girl immediately rushed up to finish him off. Now only the black-clothed Furuta is left. He immediately uses his teammate as a shield and advances to pierce her eye. Thus, the girl is defeated by him. Sasaki is still trying to restrain Tsukiyama when he is finally under control. Suddenly, Kanae appears and attacks him at this point. Kanae is about to deal with Sasaki. Then he remembers the fight with Arima, quickly regains her mind consciousness to escape. So Sasaki goes crazy and attacks Kanae. When Sasaki is about to deal with Kanae, Tsukiyama intervenes. Suddenly, Ito appears and attacks Sasaki. She continues to brainwash Kanae, telling him he must fight Sasaki while being tortured. Then Sasaki saw images of his childhood, but he hated it greatly. It turns out that since childhood, Kaneki has always been abused by his mother. It became a psychological scar for Kaneki. At this point, Kaneki had a conversation with himself and accepted who he was. His hair turned black as a result. Thus, Kaneki awakened, becoming colder and more ruthless. Kanae is no longer his match. As for Tsukiyama, he was also put to sleep early, so he could focus on fighting a decisive battle with the One-Eyed King on Yuri's team. They are dealing with someone with super regenerative abilities. No matter how they fight, he doesn't die. So Shirazu decides to release his quink to deal with him. They thought he was dead this time, but he transforms even more bloodthirsty. Now Shirazu is determined to defeat him, so he releases his Kagyun and fight with him full strength, taking advantage of his weakening state. Yuri rushes in to finish him off. Turns out he's the friend that the manager asked to take care of Eito. In the end, both of them emerged victorious. However, Shirazu is injured and collapses, seeing him fall in front of them. The group is deeply saddened. Meanwhile, Kaneki is still battling Eito. He said that your father once asked me to save you, but you're just a piece of trash. Unexpectedly, Kaneki's current strength completely surpasses Ito's, so he defeated the One-Eyed King. But luckily she managed to escape. When Kori arrived, he saw Kaneki eating the remaining body of the One-Eyed King. At this point, Kaneki said, "Let me handle Tsukiyama." Then he threw him down the stairs because he knew Kanae would definitely protect him. When Kaneki turned back, he saw Shirazu had died, but he coldly blamed Yuri for being too weak. As for Tsukiyama, he has been picked up by Tuka. It turns out his father has not been captured. Sometime later, the battle between CCG and the Ghoul organization becomes more intense. The leader, Washu, continuously orders investigators to exterminate Aojiri's hideouts. Ito realizes that Aojiri is on the verge of losing. Kaneki has become a cold-hearted investigator. Suddenly, Ito appears on television and openly declares herself as a ghoul, surprising everyone. Ito announces her desire to create a world where humans and ghouls can live together. At this moment, Kaneki arrives at the press conference to arrest Ito. While taking her to prison, Ito informed Kaneki that the Washu clan is the one controlling this world. All of them are ghouls, including Rise, who plays a significant role in the organization at this moment. Rise's foster father, he is being pursued by Arima. It turns out he wants to know where Rise is, but he refuses to speak, so he is defeated by Arima. Ito then negotiates with Kaneki, making a deal with him. Outside, Ayato begins to attack the prison. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Kaneki goes to find Hinami to take her out of there. Even though Kaneki is slapped, Hinami is secretly happy in her heart. At this point, Ayato is stopped by Arima. Luckily, Tuka's group arrives in time to help him. It turns out Arima is the one who killed Tuka's mother. Yomo promises to protect his 2 grandchildren. So they all together attack Arima, but the 3 of them are still not his match. On Kaneki's side, he finally met Furuta, so they gave a blow that knocked his teeth out. Hanami also gave him a hole on his body, Yomo, wanting to protect his 2 grandchildren, so he decided to go all out in the fight against Arima. When Yomo is in a dangerous situation, Kaneki appears just in time. He prevents Arima, allowing Tuka's group to escape. At this point, Kaneki and Arima descend to the place where both of them used to train. However, Arima is still stronger than him and declared 645 times is the number of times of spare due, because Kaneki wants to meet Tuka again, so Kaneki unleashes strength to confront Arima. Arima also reveals his trump card. At this time, Furuta is still live well, but accidentally encounters Ito. Kaneki is still being beaten by Arima. He knows he's about to die. Suddenly, Hideyoshi appears in Kaneki's mind, advising him not to waste his life. This helps Kaneki regain his determination, and his hair turns white one more time. He continues to face Arima on Furuta's side. He is being pursued by Ito. Unexpectedly, he also possesses the power of a ghoul, and he defeated Ito. She realizes that his power is also Rise's power. Meanwhile, Kaneki is starting to overpower Arima, and breaks his weapon. At this point, Arima realizes he has lost, but Kaneki doesn't want to kill him, so Arima decides to end his own life on the investigator's side. They have attacked directly into Aojiri's hideout. Only Tatara is left. He transforms and deals with them one by one. Suddenly, Sato appears and captures Tatara. While Juzo and Yuri's group are fighting Kurona, she hates Juzo because he killed her sister the last time. Unexpectedly, Juzo activates a special investigator armor, causing Kuro to immediately flee. As for Sato, he has changed and defeated Tatara, thinking that by doing so, he can return to being an investigator. Surprisingly, they still consider him an enemy at this moment. He remembers when he was turned into a ghoul. It turns out Sato is also an experiment of this doctor. Similar to Kaneki, Sato defeats all the investigators. While intending to deal with Akira, Amon appeared to save her. Meanwhile, Kuro has returned to find the doctor. She tells him to revive Nishiro for her because she can still hear her voice in her stomach. But the doctor says it's just a fart, so he opened up his other experiments, even though Amon has turned into a ghoul, but he is still weaker than Sato. Fortunately, Yuri's group arrives in time to support. When Sato is in danger, Akira runs and shields for him, because they used to be teammates. Suddenly, Amon blocks Yuri's group. He tells Sato to quickly take Akira away, so Sato leaves. Now only Amon is left to face Yuri's group. Thinking they are about to kill him, he immediately transforms. Yuri realizes Amon is a mutated ghoul, but Yuri decides not to lose anyone else. He immediately began to fight Amon, but he still loses to him, so Amon leaves. Meanwhile, Kuro is harboring hatred for the doctor for turning both sisters into ghouls. Suddenly, Nishio also appears and captures him. When he was about to deal with him, Roma appears and saves him. She used to work for Antaiku, so Kuro and Nishio collaborated to catch Roma. Finally, the battle comes to an end, and everyone is safe. As for Arima, he informs Kaneki that both he and Furuta carry half ghoul blood. Children born with this blood suffer from premature aging. Except for Ito, he is a special case, so he knows his time is limited, and reveals a secret to Kaneki the leader of the Washu clan, is a ghoul. He also asks Kaneki to kill the one-eyed king. Finally, Arima is liberated. The next day, Kaneki returns to Tuka's cafe. At this point, he gathers everyone, along with the remnants of Aojiri. He declares that he will become the one-eyed king. He intends to create a world where humans and ghouls live together. Their organization will be called GOAT. Despite some considering it absurd, they depart. But many people still stay. Suddenly, Neki returns to find Kaneki, because he knows he is the one who killed his big brother. So wants to settle at his own strength. However, Kaneki is too strong, and Naki can't even touch on him. In the end, Kaneki wins. Naki accepts joining GOAT. At this moment, Akira has regained consciousness, but doesn't want to talk to Kaneki, so he went to meet Amon. After talking with Amon, she found out Kaneki understands the world the most, because he is the only one who has stood on both sides, human and ghoul. As for Tuka, she went to meet Akira. She confesses that she is the one who killed her father, but when Akira sees the ghoul children, they appear no different from humans. She begins to let go of her hatred. Even Hinami hugs her. Furuta has become the leader of the CCG. Suddenly that night, the city faces a clown uprising, so investigators go to eliminate them. Unexpectedly, their numbers increase. They are attempting to attack the headquarters. Yuri confronts Amon's foster father and quickly captured by him. At this moment, he continually brings up Yuri's father to manipulate his emotions, causing Yuri's ghoul cells to undergo mutations. Psycho rushes in because she doesn't want to lose anyone else, so she immediately attacks Yuri to help him calm down. But Yuri goes berserk and impales her. Despite this, Psycho rushes to embrace Yuri, immediately helping him regain composure. In the end, the investigator triumphs, but she discovered that among the clowns there are many who are humans. Meanwhile, Furuta has established a special force. Even Matsuki joins him. The next day, Tuka suddenly asks Kaneki, still a virgin, and asked him to create a baby together with her. Suddenly, Furuta appeared on TV. It turns out he wants to eradicate all ghouls in Ward 24. Kaneki wants to go there, but Tuka immediately stops him. When both of them were about to express their feelings, Matsuki arrives at the cafe. He resents Kaneki for abandoning him, so he immediately attacked Kaneki, realizing that this person is the third party. So both immediately became jealous, but they were outnumbered. So Kaneki immediately led Tuka away. That night, both of them escaped into an abandoned building. They decided not to restrain their emotions anymore. The next morning, Tuka gave Kaneki her mother's ring, and both decided to go to Ward 24 together. Sometime later, Nishio discovered that Tuka was pregnant, so she immediately informed Kaneki, "You have a baby," immediately. Kaneki ran to find Tuka, even though they didn't know if the baby would be born smoothly. But both were very happy on Yuri and Seiko's side. They realized that the CCG was deteriorating because Furuta had some kind of conspiracy. While Kaneki and Tuka were organizing a wedding, everyone came to congratulate them. Suddenly, Matsuki sent troops to surround Kaneki. Meanwhile, Yuri went to Furuta to tell him to stop. Unexpectedly, he collaborated with the clowns who attacked them, so both released their quinks and dealt with them. Unexpectedly, they began to transform and turn into SSS-ranked ghouls, even though they realized how powerful she was. But Yuri was determined to fight her and was immediately swallowed by her. Thinking they had won, Yuri immediately escaped. On this side, Kaneki's group's battle is also beginning. He realizes that this group all has Rise's genes. Now Juzu also appears, so Juzu immediately charges at him with incredible speed. As for his friends, they each take care of the investigators. They all proclaim Kaneki as their king. Meanwhile, Tuka is fighting Matsuki on Yuri's side. He has awakened a shield and defeated 2 clowns. But this man is finished off by the squad leader. Suddenly, other investigators arrive and shoot him dead. Kaneki is currently in a hand-to-hand battle with Juzo. Seeing Tuka surrounded, Kaneki, distracted, is hit by Juzo. So he was immediately attacked by this group, exhausted but determined. He insists on saving Tuka. Different versions of him appear one after another, immediately aiding him to regain composure. Meanwhile, Furuta, it turns out from the beginning, he wanted to turn Kaneki into a dragon. So he manipulated Matsuki to make Kaneki lose control. Now the giant tails continue to destroy the city. The doctor also pays the price for his experiments by committing suicide. So all the investigators have no information at this time. Hideyoshi is still alive. It turns out he has always secretly helped Kaneki, but unexpectedly he transformed to this extent. At this moment, the dragon is still sleeping. Tuka's group doesn't know how to save him, while the investigators worried that if it wakes up again, the entire city will be destroyed. Suddenly, Hideyoshi leads everyone to the headquarters of CCG. He wants ghouls and humans to cooperate this time. Even though it's challenging to erase the hatred between humans and ghouls, but many special investigators support it, so they decide to collaborate. While confiding in Hideyoshi, Tuka suddenly remembers the ring she gave him, so they can use a metal detector to determine Kaneki's location. Suddenly, the dragon begins to awaken, releasing a swarm of small monsters attacking the city. At this time, Matsuki appears, attacking Yuri and Seiko, because he always regrets turning Kaneki into this. When he tries to end himself, Yuri stops him because they don't want to lose anyone else. Meanwhile, in Kaneki's mind, he dreamed that he had killed a lot of people. Suddenly, he encounters Rise. Rise mocks the dream of humans and ghouls living together as hopeless. Now it has caused many people to die. But Kaneki realizes he still has friends, so he must return to them. Meanwhile, Tuka has found Kaneki. She immediately takes him to the hospital. Finally, Kaneki regains consciousness. At this point, Kaneki learns that investigators and ghouls have cooperated. Thanks to Hideyoshi, he feels very happy when he goes outside to check the situation. He sees Furuta interviewing this group about whether human flesh tastes good. Meanwhile, on the investigators' side, they discover many people turning into ghouls. Suddenly, monsters attack them upon death. They release a toxic substance. Kaneki fears that using this power will cause him to lose control again. But to protect everyone, he has to use it unexpectedly. He evolves a pair of wings and deals with all of them. Afterwards, they bring Seiko back for treatment. In the evening, Hideyoshi finds Kaneki. Kaneki says, "Let me see your face." Unexpectedly, his face has completely transformed, causing Kaneki a lot of sadness. Because Hideyoshi has always sacrificed for him, at this point, the whole group knows they need to defeat the dragon before it awakens. So Kaneki immediately says, "Let me go," because he can resist its toxicity. Suddenly, they are ambushed by Furuta troops. They are individuals bestowed with power by the dragon, so everyone gathers to prepare for battle against them. Suddenly, a jewel appears. Immediately, it kills many investigators. It turns out to be Ito's assassin, controlled by Amon's foster father. Meanwhile, Kaneki is searching for the dragon's core, but he sees the figure of Rise. Suddenly, the monsters awaken, so Ayato tells Kaneki to go ahead, to hold them back. At this time, the masked clowns start to act. Amon immediately attacks him, recognizing him as his foster father, but he is too strong and can even split himself on Yomu's side. He discovers that this person is Yuta. Despite being attacked by Yuta, Yomu still considers him a friend, but he laughs and transforms, because he wants to personally kill him, despite always considering him a friend, so he has defeated him. Finally, Yuta has understood Yomu's mind, so they will always be friends. Meanwhile, Amon is being beaten by this old man, but he has identified the main body of the old man, so he rushes in to finish him. At this moment, Amon forgives his foster father. Although he has eaten many people in the village, Amon still sees him as his father. As for Kaneki, he encounters Furuta again. He continuously attacks Kaneki, but unexpectedly, Kaneki immediately broke his sword by biting it. This frustrates him. Now, Kaneki demonstrates his true strength. He immediately transformed and cut off his arm, so he also unleashes his true power. Transforming into a monster, he attacks Kaneki. But Kaneki refuses to give up. He is determined to defeat this opponent. Finally, he emerges victorious. Even in death, he sees this world as his own game. Now he remembers his past with Rise on Kaneki's team. They have also emerged victorious, but Kaneki still has to defeat the dragon. In the end, he finds its core, and it turns out its core is Rise, so he personally ends this battle. Thus, the dragon begins to collapse. 6 years later, the city has been restored. He has successfully built a world where humans and ghouls live together. Now, everyone gathers at Kaneki's home, and he has a daughter.